Morning. First thing we got to do today is the bin builder's coming out. I got to settle up with him for everything he's gotten done here. And then we're going to start moving equipment down 6 miles south and we're going to go to work. What is that? The check has been written. Now what we're doing is going through taking the covers off the bottom of the grain dryer to get the pods out from where they built up before we run corn through it. There's a few pods that always build up in here, but particularly this year because of how tough the beans were when we started. This is hard to do one-handed. I would rather put pods in the grain bins and in the combine than on the ground behind me. So I ran the pods into the tank on those tough beans. They'll dry out and blend off. The fact is they got beans in them. I'm gonna need both hands. We've got the dryer loading right now. The way we've got it set up is when we dump the trucks in these pits, the priority feed is down the tube right there going into the grain dryer, so we always keep the grain dryer full as long as that's moving. It's not running right now, but we are loading it because it was empty. After that dryer is full, it'll overflow feed into this new wet bin right now is the way we've got it set. The reason we're not in a hurry this morning is because everything is frosty. We had high moisture in the air last night and everything's frosty, so this ground, this mud is actually frozen. The yard is frozen right now, which means the corn plants have frost on them. So we're not going to be able to combine yet anyway, and we want to make sure, because we haven't run any corn through the dryer yet this year, we want to make sure that everything's running good here. So Dad's got some running around to do. I'm going to finish dumping the corn, get it all in everywhere here, and check over the trucks to make sure they're aired up on tires, make sure they're good on oil, make sure all the corn is going where it's supposed to go. And then once we've got that ready, we're going to fire up the dryer. Once we're confident everything's moving right there, we're going to get the combine down south of here. Clear as mud? Me too. For the non-farmers out there, to give you an idea, just one of the examples of why we hate working with high moisture corn. That's not a pretty sight. If this was dry corn, everything would be clean in here. This stuff sat in the truck overnight, which is why it's hanging up a little here. It's not like it's rotten. It'll fall out after the first load when we drive down the road, but this is something you don't deal with when you got a lower moisture corn. On top of that, of course, it's a lot more expensive to dry. We contracted many thousands of gallons of LP to fill that big tank with. We did that in August. That's one of the big advantages to having that big tank. We know we can get bulk trucks in here and we can pre-order an awful lot of gallons of LP. So we contracted that a long time ago, knowing that our corn was probably going to be wet this year. All right, time to check the tire pressures here. Seems a little silly, but it's pretty effective. The dryer is full, and we are filling into the new wet bin. Got a little Minnesota moisture stuck to the window. Could be a long fall, but it's sunny today. Time to top me off with some go-go juice and stuff some groceries down my neck. If you got that reference, you might not even be a millennial. This one's still full of corn, so we're gonna empty the grain cart in the meantime. Wrinkly. Morning. The cart is all greased up. Tractor's got oil. Dad's gonna hook up to the header, bring the header down. Jim's gonna bring the cart. I'm gonna bring this beast sitting out here. Unfolded, hooked, idler down, field is set. Here we go. Cutting end rows, opening it up, observing. 5 to 7. I'll just cut down to this other approach and turn around, and we'll have a little more of a hopper in there. We can take it home and test the moisture. Little bit moist right here. Huh. Well, the moisture is reading considerably drier here, but the yield on these end rows is not very good. I'm thinking it'll get a lot better as we get into the field. This is where we always drive the trucks and everything, so it's going to be tightly compacted here. Hopefully this is our poorest yield. That's a little better. But this is the number that I'm really happy about right there. Not that 24% corn is fantastic, but it's way better than 31. Well, it's high moisture, but it's not 31, that's for sure. I'll bet it's 4 to 6 points drier, I bet.
Good deal.
The yield is not there, but this is where we run the trucks in and out, so it should get better.
The yield isn't there?
Well, it's 180 so far. Do we have a deal to bring home a sample?
No.
You got that flashlight to take apart?
Maybe I
I know that's a weird question, but we got a big flashlight that takes one of those giant square batteries in it, and we can take that apart and use it as a test pail. Oh, we dumped Jim's lunch on the ground. That way we had a test pail here. Didge? About 25%. 25, 26% is not perfect, but we'll take that. That's way, way better than 31. If you're not a corn farmer, it maybe doesn't sound like a lot, but that makes a huge difference. 25, 6% we can deal with. Unfortunately, these trucks are not gonna go in the field. Well, they'll go in, but they won't come out. So, we got a pretty wide gravel road here. There's clearly not a ton of traffic here. We're gonna have to load on the road. We're gonna bring the 6410 down with the bucket on it to clean up the road in case we do get it full of mud. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. So we got an approach out to the west here. We'll bring the grain cart around. He'll dump in here and pull into the east approach, and we'll make it work. Flashers on, of course. All right, it's go time. We've got a lot of end rows on this field, and we've got a pretty large test plot in this field too that we're gonna take out today, hopefully. Where is it? 17.8. Okay, I got 18.1, so we're off by barely. We're good. We're real close.
Yeah, that's only like 300 pounds.
Yeah, that's a really low percentage. I'm gonna drive down to that other approach and just start going around, and then we'll go once around, and then I'll turn around, and I think you can follow me this whole way around. The first time we'll get the very outside rows opened up. So when we open up the end rows, obviously it's our first trip around. We don't have room to dump on the go. So what I do is get as full as I can. And when I'm just about full, I'll open up another 12 rows next to me so Jim can pull up with the grain cart, and we'll just dump sitting still. We'll make our way all the way around the field because we should have enough room to get all the way around. And then once we get around there, I'll reverse directions and we can find the straight spots on the field and hopefully dump on the go. 12 rows is usually enough to dump on the go. Sometimes you get into an issue if there's trees around the edge or something where the grain cart can get into them, but we'll just have to keep an eye out for them. Well, I'm definitely full, as I can tell by the fact that when I stopped on the hill, I put some on the ground for pheasants. Oh well, it's kind of my style, I guess. He's getting pretty full, but I'm gonna see, with the hopper I have on, I'm gonna see if I can squeeze it in there. That's what she said. I'd call that getting full. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to fit it or not.
Yeah, I have to ask man how full he wants these trucks. Same as always. Add more.
I'd say that's a full cart.
With the,
we got Woody back. You're on camera.
all right, perfect.
Bethany, do you want to explain why we're harvesting one row?
Do I have to? Who am I blaming it on?
You can blame it on anybody other than me.
It just comes with the plots, you know? You win some, you lose some.
So Woody, the John Deere guy, left me, and Bethany sat in his spot and replaced him. We just finished taking out the FTN channel plot that we walked through with Bruce and Scott a couple of weeks ago. And Bethany, I mean somebody.
It definitely wasn't me.
So somebody, besides either of us, put the flakes in the wrong spot.
Yep.
So now we're using a 12-row header for this.
I mean, time is not of the essence. We're not trying to be efficient.
It's a cheap vehicle to run up and down.
Is on time.
More of a hobby than anything, really. I have nothing for it. We tested the varieties. She's got the numbers. She's going to take them back, evaluate them,
That's right.
and tell me what's awesome and what's not.
Correct.
Right. Most of it was awesome.
Most of it, yep.
Good enough. Fair enough. Look at that sunset. I don't think the camera does it justice. Probably because my windows are so doggone dirty. But what a beautiful night to be harvesting corn.
Drive off of a turnover, so I love the idea. Right, got it right up the middle to the 35.
I cannot take how bad these windows are anymore, so I gotta borrow some glass cleaner from Jim's rig. Oh, that is better. Look at that. I can even use my mirrors again. Let's see where the Vikings are at. When Woody was out here earlier, one of the things we did was set up the Combine Advisor in here. And what that does is actually control the entire back of the machine as far as the threshing goes. So it'll control the grain quality coming through. It uses a couple of different cameras that are actually self-learning, that read, not much going on there, that actually read the grain as it's coming through. So you teach the machine what you want it to do and the quality of grain that you want to come into the tank and out the back. As far as, well, you don't want grain to come out the back, but you guys know what I mean. You teach the machine how well you want it to do, and it will automatically adjust on the fly. So right now the blue numbers are actually adjusting themselves as they go. So these are things like the threshing clearance or the concaves, the rotor speed or the threshing speed, the cleaning fan speed, the chaffer and the sieves for the cleaning area. That's all adjusting on the go. Inside here, it's also, let's see, not on that one. I need to figure out where everything's at on this yet, but active terrain adjustment, so when you're going up and down a hill, everything in the back automatically adjusts. It's pretty cool. I like to call it Millennial Mode, because once you teach the machine what you want it to do, it'll do it all day long. Changing crop conditions, changing qualities, changing test weight, changing hybrids, whatever you change, this machine will change along with what's coming into the back. Driving through some mud and water here. This field's been a lot drier than what we've experienced lately. But these tracks also go straight through the mud. I don't have to sear with the brakes and bounce around, wiggle around. So the tracks are pretty awesome that way. But this thing self-learns, self-teaches itself, you know what I mean again. And it's pretty awesome. I don't have to touch a thing. It just constantly monitors the grain and the system in the back, the tailings, the returns. It monitors all of that and it adjusts itself accordingly. Pretty awesome. This corn right here looks pretty decent, but what we've got in this field compared to what we were harvesting yesterday is a lot of breakage. We've got a lot of unhealthy root systems, unhealthy stalks, combined with several freezes lately, is making the stalks really, really brittle.
Early 90s, yeah, here and played for the Redskins. At least for his standards, had kind of a rough game. That's a rare penalty on O'Neill. He also was beaten by Matt.
This is the quietest unload auger I've ever heard in my life. Either that or the cab is that quiet, one of the two, because I can't hardly tell that that thing is on. Out there, does anybody else love the smell of drying corn the way that I do? It's just awesome. And it's nice and toasty standing over there. Let's see what this thing is doing. So we're at a 15% speed, which is pretty slow, but to be expected for high moisture corn. We're coming out at 13.7. That's probably on the dry side. I'll take a manual sample of it, make sure that's close. Plenum temps are plenty high, but again, wet corn, high moisture corn, it's what we got to do. We can go in, check graphs. Let's see, I don't want to check set point. I want to check tools. graphs, discharge. There's our moisture, so we're down a little low. I'll maybe check that, maybe speed the dryer up a hair. Plenum temps, consistent with 1, consistent with 2. Excellent. Meter roll speed, see if Dad's been messing with it. No, been pretty flat for a few hours. All kinds of fun stuff. So I'll get up 3 a.m., something like that, and check on all this to make sure everything's running fine. Dad will be back out here early morning. We're gonna get it done, dry some corn, harvest some corn. One of the biggest things we always got to keep an eye on is the air system back here to make sure none of these pipes come apart, because if these pipes back here come apart, we end up with a lot of grain on the ground, which is a very unfortunate thing. And that's why we installed these handy dandy little cameras to help us keep an eye on this. Always make sure the fans are going the right direction and they're pulling air in. We have had them reverse sometimes. Yep. Sample out of the back of the dryer said about 13%, which is plenty dry considering usually we lose another % in the bin. So I sped the dryer up a little bit to move it through there a little faster to not get it quite so dry, so that's a good thing. I'll be back out here in a few hours. Well, it's 3 a.m. Hey, kitty. Let's see what we got. Looks good. Pretty consistent. I'm gonna go grab a physical sample to make sure that it's actually at the moisture that it says it is. All good. Now, we just do a quick walk around, make sure the belts are good, we're not losing any grain off the top of the bins, and the air pipes are still together. Good enough. I'm going back to bed. Hey, thanks for watching.